obscure city is a place where you can find many unique dangers. This is where she works, Cassandra Killjoy, paranormal private eye. Now a teenage girl's father has gone missing, and Killjoy believes that the city's enigmatic protector, the swordsman, is the key to finding him. So Killjoy must face many deadly dangers in her search for the swordsman. Available on Amazon.com.
Even extraordinary cartoons can have extraordinarily bad episodes, and when that happens, you get InepToons. Justice League is one of those shows that is so good that the bad episodes really stand out. Case in point, Warworld. However, this is a case where you have to sympathize with the creators, as everyone who contributed to this show admits that it was the hardest show that they ever worked on, as all of their previous shows focused on one lead character. And now not only did they have to contend with an ensemble cast, but one that was comprised of the majority of DC's most powerful heroes. So every episode was a balancing act of both giving their 7 leads equal screen time and coming up with plots big enough to challenge them. Season 1 was the experimental season. It was the creative team figuring out how the hell to make this show work, which makes it all the more impressive that the season ended up having such high quality and more understandable as to why they still produced one dud. So let's take a look at that dud. Fanboys and fangirls, from Justice League, this is Warworld. So our episode begins with Superman and Martian Manhunter setting explosives on an asteroid that is 3.5 miles wide and on a collision course with Earth. Hawkgirl monitors their progress from the watchtower. And here lies the first problem. What is this, Armageddon? Why are they using explosives to do this? They're superheroes. Hell, one of them is Superman. He could just punch this asteroid to pieces or push it into the sun. Alright, start the counter. Gee, I hope that using this highly volatile method to get rid of a giant rock that's made of unknown metals doesn't come back to bite them in the ass. So Superman and Martian Manhunter get knocked out by the explosion and picked up by some red aliens. Meanwhile, back at the watchtower, Hawkgirl and Green Lantern argue aimlessly instead of, looking for their friends.
Do you want to stand here pointing fingers, or do you want to do something about it?
Is it just me, or is there something going on between those two?
Yup, for those of you who don't know, this is where the famous romance between Hawkgirl and Green Lantern begins, which was entirely inspired by Phil Lamar and Maria Canals Barrera's excellent chemistry. So whether you like it or not, this episode is still required viewing. Anyway, we cut to the red aliens who apparently intend to deliver Superman and Manhunter to Warworld so they can compete as gladiators. And, you know what? This is just dumb. Superman can just break his bonds and fly out of there faster than you can say. So for those of you who are wondering why Superman can't break free, for some inexplicable reason, Superman is a lot weaker during Season 1 of Justice League. According to Bruce Timm, this was a poor attempt to not overpower him and justify him needing the help of the Justice League. But he also admits that they might have overcompensated. In my personal headcanon, I like to believe that he is still recovering from being shot with a kryptonite cannon during the last episode of Superman the Animated Series. Now, some of you might like to point out that he still beats the crap out of Darkseid just hours after that happens. And to you, I say, guys, I'm just trying to make sense out of the senseless, so please sympathize. Anyway, we cut to Warworld where we meet our main antagonist, the alien dictator known as Mongol, played brilliantly by Eric Roberts. And we also meet the actual hero of this episode, the current reigning and defending champion of Warworld, Draga. So what important character traits do we need to know about this character we are going to spend so much time with? Draga good at making things dead. Yep, that's pretty much it. Later, Draga confronts his next opponent. You know, they say that all men are created equal, but you look at me, and you look at this Kryptonian, and you know that statement ain't true. You see, normally, if you go one-on-one with an opponent, you got a 50-50 chance of winning, but I'm a genetic freak, and I ain't normal, so you got a 25% chance at best to beat me. And then you add Mongo's robots to the mix, your chances of winning drastically go down. You see, at our fight at War World, you got a 33 1/3 chance of winning, but I got a 66 2/3 chance of winning, cause them robots, they can't beat me, and they're not even gonna try. So Kryptonian, you take your 33 1/3 chance, minus my 25 chance, you got an 1/8 and 1/3 chance of winning at War World. But then you take my 75% chance of winning if we were to go one-on-one, and then add 66 2/3 chance, and I got a 141 2/3 chance of winning at War World. You see, Kryptonian, the numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you at War World.
Nice!
But after Draga leaves, Superman remembers that he's Superman and easily breaks through his bonds and busts out of his cell.
Why didn't you do that when Drago was here?
Good freaking question! Superman goes looking for Martian Manhunter and finds him with all the other discarded prisoners next to a pool waiting to be eaten by a giant crocodile monster. Wait, stop! So these red guys whose entire job is to find and kidnap aliens who are tough enough to compete in War World know about Kryptonians and the superhuman abilities that they gain under a yellow sun, but they don't know about Martians? So, super strength, flight, telepathy, intangibility, and shapeshifting wouldn't be useful in gladiatorial combat? Boy, do you guys suck at your job. Now, some of you might be wondering why Martian Manhunter didn't use his incredible powers to escape earlier.
Something in the atmosphere is sapping my strength.
What? I'm sorry, what I meant to say was, what? Could you please elaborate on that? No time to explain, giant crocodile.
Later, Gator.
So our heroes make a run for it, but hit a force field, and wait, Martian Manhunter phased through it? I thought something in the atmosphere was sapping his strength. Whatever. Now, all Superman has to do is spin around really fast, making himself into a drill, burrow down into the ground and under the force field. Start spinning. Burrow. Burrow now. You can do this. I've seen you do it before. Never mind. Count it. Okay, it's just some robots. You can easily defeat robots. Meanwhile, Hawkgirl and Green Lantern follow the ion trail from the ship that took Superman and Manhunter to a refueling port on another planet. There, they play bad cop and batter cop with the local riffraff, until one of them gives them the 411 on who took their friends, as our heroes use the most extreme of torture techniques.
Get ready, it's time now for 7 hours of Tony Danza!
I heard something about a Kryptonian. He was being taken to War World.
Back on War World, Mongol decides to punish Superman for his escape attempt by making him fight Draga. Manhunter attends the fight and does absolutely nothing to free Superman or any of the other gladiators. Nice! Now I have to give credit where credit is due. This fight scene is excellent, comprised of good pacing, choreography, and shot design. There's just one little itty bitty little problem. Superman should have beaten this guy in 30 seconds. After the bout, the robots easily take Superman back to his cell. And Draga is going to be fed to the giant crocodile. But Superman saves him by putting him on a garbage scow that takes him off-world. Draga responds in the most sensible way possible, by swearing revenge on Superman.
For hate's sake, I spit my last breath at thee.
Meanwhile, Hawkgirl and Green Lantern do scenes from moonlighting on the back of the blue alien's ship.
I'm not taking his side. I'm just saying...
I'm wrong again.
Do you two want a little privacy?
And I know this might shock some of you, but the seedy criminal they picked up from a planet full of seedy criminals betrays them.
No way!
Meanwhile, back on War World, Superman has become a media darling. Mongol plans to put an end to that shit by staging a fight between him and Superman, in which Superman will purposefully lose. And why would Superman agree to this? Apparently Mongol has a planet-destroying cannon, which would technically make War World into some kind of a Death Star. And because Krypton already exploded, Mongol threatens to blow up Draga's planet instead. So Superman has no choice but to agree to the stupid fixed fight. And apparently, Manhunter witnessed the whole thing by phasing through the wall. But I thought his powers weren't working and... Ugh. Meanwhile, the blue guy left Hawkgirl and Green Lantern stranded on a random planet. Hawkgirl takes in the local cuisine, while Green Lantern helps himself to some alien porn. That is not a joke.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
No stealing!
So our heroes decide to question their attackers about the location of Warworld. And lo and behold, one of the planet's new residents knows the way.
You want to find Warworld? Talk to me.
That's right, Hawkgirl and Green Lantern were dropped off on the exact same planet where Draga was dumped earlier. Convenient! Meanwhile, as Superman and Mongol's fake fight begins, Martian Manhunter shapeshifts into Mongol and orders his men to decommission the Death Star cannon. But he can't keep it up, as he shapeshifts back into... Wait, if Manhunter loses control of his shapeshifting ability, he would shift back into his true Martian form, not his humanoid superhero form. Why do I even bother? Meanwhile, Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, and Draga arrive on Warworld. And I know this might shock some of you, but the seedy criminal they picked up from a planet full of seedy criminals betrays them.
No way!
Yup, they were fooled by criminals twice within a matter of hours. This would be a good time to point out that both of these characters are intergalactic police officers. So Draga joins the fight between Superman and Mongol, but goes after Superman. You know, the guy who spared his life and freed him from slavery, as opposed to going after the guy who enslaved him, tortured him, and forced him to kill for years. Logical. Meanwhile, for no apparent reason, Hawkgirl and Green Lantern go to the Death Star cannon, where they find Manhunter pinned down under enemy fire. They jump into action, but it's too late, as Mongol's men fire the cannon. And here's the part that makes everyone go cross-eyed. Hawkgirl flies to the end of the barrel and knocks the blast back into the cannon with her mace. She deflected a beam powerful enough to destroy an entire planet with her little mace. Now, Hawkgirl's mace is made out of nth metal, and the properties of which change from adaptation to adaptation. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that her mace can actually do this. Well, then this would be a good time to remind everyone that she just deflected a blast powerful enough to destroy a planet onto a planet. Just kidding. Apparently, this is a localized Death Star cannon, as the blast only destroys the building where the cannon was housed. Cut back to the fight. In between punches, Superman explains to Draga why he has to lose to Mongol. But no time to reconcile, as the plot chooses violence.
Now, Kryptonian, it's just you and me.
Luckily, the other Leaguers show up in the nick of time and inform them that the cannon exploded and Draga's planet is no longer under threat. So this is it. The moment we've all been waiting for. The final confrontation between Superman and... Nope! Draga gets to fight Mongol in the end. Okay? So after a few punches, Draga starts to do that very cliche thing that characters do during fight scenes in movies and TV shows, where they explain aloud what every punch is for. Like, this one's for my people, and this one's for my humiliation. And then he says the most inadvertently hilarious line in the whole episode.
And this is for justice!
What? Since when does the revenge-obsessed troglodyte who made a blood oath by branding an S onto his chest to get revenge on a guy who did nothing to him care about justice? And some of you might be wondering, Erod, is there ever a conversation in this episode where they debate the value of justice over revenge? Or do they ever establish what the Justice League stands for? No, absolutely not. This comes out of nowhere.
And this is for justice!
Anyway, so the day is saved, and Superman puts the olive on the shit sandwich by giving Draga Mongol's crown and leaving him in charge of the planet. Yes, this is the most qualified and stable person for the job. No one else around with actual political experience. Let's go home. This episode is bad. but it's not as bad as other bad episodes from other TV shows. In fact, it would be more fair to say that it is the weakest episode in the series. But its issues are just too big to ignore. And the sad thing is that most of these issues could easily be solved by switching out Superman and Martian Manhunter with literally any other two members of the Justice League. So the question is, why did they go with these two characters? Well, I don't know why they went with Martian Manhunter, but I can tell you for sure why they went with Superman. You see, this episode is actually comic book accurate. Sort of. Warworld is a very loose adaptation of the Gladiator storyline from Superman's Exile arc, which spanned all Superman titles for over a year. However, in the comics, there are really good reasons why Superman would succumb to capture, enslavement, and forced gladiatorial combat. You see, in the story, Superman has an existential crisis after suffering a series of setbacks, which include but are not limited to forcefully having to execute 3 supercriminals, being mind-controlled by Brainiac, and masquerading as a violent vigilante called Gangbuster. So Superman leaves Earth on a self-imposed exile, as he has lost the will to fight, which makes him being captured and being forced to fight the perfect conflict at this particular time in his life. Furthermore, at this point in the story arc, Superman has been away from Earth's yellow sun for months, so he's not as powerful as he usually is. So yeah, there are a lot of really good reasons as to why this story works in the comics. In the cartoon, not so much. As I stated before many times, Superman just forgot he's Superman. Still, the episode is worth the watch. You get to see the genesis of Hawkgirl and Green Lantern's romance. Eric Roberts is really good as Mongol, and this episode actually sets up arguably the best episode in the series for the man who has everything. Yes, Eric Roberts guest starred on what are considered to be the best and worst episodes of the show. Yup, he only settles for the top ones, and that, my friends, is why he's the best of the best. However, the poor quality of this episode is such that complaints from the fan base have remained to this very day. So much so that Bruce Timm addresses this during one of the featurettes on the DVD box set, identifying Warworld as the most poorly received episode of Season 1. And for 2 full weeks, the Justice League fan forum was plagued with complaints about Superman in this episode being portrayed as unnaturally weak and vulnerable to harm. So there you go. If you elect to watch it, don't just do it for me, don't just do it for the humiliation of the creative team, but do it
for justice!
Next time on InepToons.
It is Bushroot! He's dead! Again?